5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have blast off. Hello, welcome back. Good to see you again. It's Stuart here from my shop, the Woolpatch, a yarn, fabric, haberdashery shop here in Long Melford, Suffolk, UK. I usually start this part of the show showing some sort of finished garment, whether that's a knit or whether that's a fabric sewn shirt. Well, actually, take a look at this. An upcoming shirt that I'm currently making. The Fairfield button-up. Can you remember my first attempt at that in solid pink with the short sleeves and the placket in the wrong place? Well, I'm having another go in fabulous gingham. So hopefully I'll be able to show you that in a couple of weeks. So it's not a garment at all. It's my first quilt that I can show you. So patchwork and quilting, and I can't wait to show it to you. It's my spaced out quilt, a pattern called Mod Coins by Tracy Pereira, and it's fabulous. Isn't it fab? And that quilting is just phenomenal. And Tracy quilted it for me too, because she is a professional long armer too. And some of you already know Tracy because you are avid viewers of the curly seams. Tracy and Emma, the two of them together, make the curly seams, and I often work with them. We've got a special project coming up, but they do their own vlogs as well because they are both sewers, patchworkers, quilters, knitters. But this was Tracy's first ever published quilt piecing patchwork pattern, and it's brilliant. If you are a beginner, then this is a super pattern to start with because it has everything explained. It gives clear instructions on how to cut the fabric. It also tells you how you can make it out of pre-cuts too, if you're going to use 5-inch squares or 10-inch squares, or those good old 2.5-inch strips, like a molded jelly roll. It's heavily detailed with theory too, so you get to learn a lot about fabric value and that term used for colour. The idea of a scale of very, very light white to then perhaps going through to the greys and black, and this idea of a value of colours, and that in turn is great. So you can get an awful lot from this pattern. Incredibly well detailed, laid out. Even gives you tips on how to chain piece too as a beginner, what chain piecing is, so you can get more out of your machine, so you're not getting up, ironing back to your machine, getting up, ironing back to the machine. So it's really detailed, even to the point where it tells you how to do your borders. And yes, there are many ways of doing borders. Like me, you will cut a long strip of fabric out, you will sew it down, and when it stops, you will take it out of the machine and then cut off the excess. but that's not the proper way of doing borders. And Tracy takes time, I'm looking at the pattern here, to explain how to do it, how to measuring 3 times, taking an average, and then how to pin it, and then properly easing it in, and explaining the reasons why that is used. And it's all about making the border square up your quilt, and you use the border to do that. But as I said, Tracy is a professional quilter long armer, so she does this for a living as well as going round places to teach. She did the quilting. I chose the design. You go to her website and you can choose whichever pattern design you want. Well, of course, if it's about space, that one popped up straight away when I was looking under children. It's called Blast Off. I sent it all off. I had my top, I had my wadding, and I had my backing. Packaged it all up, sent it off to Tracy, and she chose the colour thread, and isn't that fabulous? The orangey yellowy variegated, it's absolutely brilliant. And what impressed me most was when I got my wonderful quilt back, beautifully packaged up, but it was this. There's my finished quilt there that she had quilted, and you open it up, giving you all the details there. So take a look at her website as well, where you can see all the services that she offers and the prices. And why not treat yourself? And I can't wait to do the binding. What colour do you think? For this quilt, I used 3 types of fabric. I had the outer space from Macawa, fabulously fun. I then had linen texture from Macawa 2, and then the bits in the middle were the fabulous grunge from Moda. Do love that. And I had the grunge on the back too, and that one was called Nocturne. Beautiful navy blue, was wonderful. But the grunge worked really well because you get all those different effects. It's a very clever modern blender. I think that worked a treat with the overall effect, like you were looking up to the night sky, and you get a bit of the stars and a bit of the clouds. So I've got this available as a kit. If you want to do it exactly like that, you can choose the kit as the link in the description below, or you can have fun making your own. And as I say, with that, all that detail that Tracy's put into the pattern, this idea of the colour value and how do you blend through. I had made the quilt because I was testing it for Tracy. Chip had made the quilt and Emma had made the quilt. Take a look at their versions and see what you think. Chip's one in beautiful browns and blacks, and you can see his colourway. But then look at Emma's and how she dealt with that colour value and what she did with it. Brilliant. That one pattern and 3 different effects. It was great fun to test this pattern for Tracy. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. So if you want to make it, as I say, it's available now on Tracy's Etsy page. So there we are. That's my version of the Mod Coins pattern by Tracy Pereira, spaced out. Right, shop news. I've got some brand new yarn to show you. And if you love 100% wool, real wool, you're going to love this. I am proud to introduce to the Woolpatch Jamiesons of Shetland, Shetland Heather. Shetland Heather aran knitting. So I've been on the hunt for a new aran for a long while, and keeping it British was actually quite important to me. And there were a few companies I could have gone to. I looked at West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft, but there was something quite magical about getting yarn in from Shetland. And I thought, you know what? I just love it too much. Absolutely love it. It's a very similar yarn, would you believe, to my yarn that I got spun that I showed you last week. It's an aran weight yarn, but it is 2-ply. See that? So it's woolen spun, so it's very similar. To touch, it does feel rough, but it's not as woolly as I thought it was going to be. When you look at that, it's actually very neat. There aren't too many fibres here, there and everywhere, and it's normally those fibres that cause a lot of the itchy or that scratchiness, so it doesn't feel that scratchy because it's so neat. The colours are just, oh, look at that, blending in. It's just beautiful. Look at this teal or petrol with little hints of green in, and then if you like reds, which I do, look at these, the ginger and into the reds. Oh, now this is their aran knitting, Shetland Heather. Jamiesons are really famous, really, for their spindrift, the little 50-gram balls, which is a 4-ply, and people will do some amazing colour work with it. But I haven't got enough room to stock spindrift because there are so many colours. If you love colour work, that is really what you want to use. But for the aran, I've got 12 so far, and see how that goes. Some of you have probably heard of Jamieson's. Some of you are probably thinking, oh, is that Jamieson's and Smith? And it can get quite confusing. There are two companies from Shetland, Jamieson's of Shetland, or Jamieson's, and then Jamieson's and Smith. Let me tell you all about it. Jamieson's of Shetland, or Jamieson's, is a family-owned business which has specialised in wool from native Shetland sheep for 5 generations. The business was started in the early 1890s, set up by Robert Jamieson in Sandnes. Jamieson's of Shetland, Jamieson's, is completely a family business. They do everything. So this wool is from the sheep in Shetland, and it's spun in the only industrial spinning mill in Shetland which they've set up. It's a woolen spun. You can see on the website. This unique mill, built in Sandnes, completes all the stages of yarn production under one roof. This includes degrading, scouring, dyeing fleece before colour blending, carding, spinning, twisting and balling to produce their 100% Shetland wool. Fabulous, isn't it? So all done up in Shetland by this family. Jamieson's. So that's Jamieson's of Shetland, Jamieson's. Let's take a look at Jamieson and Smith. Jamieson and Smith, or Shetland Wool Brokers. The name is interchangeable. Actually, I think it'll come under, when you look online, their website is Shetland Wool Brokers Limited, but they're the two names. Jamieson and Smith, Shetland Wool Brokers Limited, purchase Shetland wool from over 700 Shetlands crofters and farmers and transform it into high quality real Shetland wool products, including yarns, knitwear, blankets and carpets. So they are buying it all and then they're bringing it down to Yorkshire or wherever, and then it gets spun. I think it's Yorkshire, and it gets spun there, and then it goes out to be sold. Listen to this bit on their website. It's fantastic. Real Shetland wool is an incredibly natural and sustainable fibre and is world renowned for its finest and warmth. Shetland sheep graze on the island's hills and beaches, eating wild heather and seaweed. This diet, along with the not so great weather, makes Shetland wool soft, strong and warm. Just how romantic is that? I can't wait to go sometime to Shetland. Have you been to Shetland? Have you gone to Lerwick and have you gone to Sandnes and had a look around? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Make me feel even more jealous of wanting to go. It's something to do. It's on my bucket list for sure. Jamieson and Smith, the Shetland wool brokers, haven't been around as long as Jamiesons of Shetland. They've been around since the 1930s, when it was founded by the Smith family of Bury Farm in Scalloway on the east coast of Shetland. Everything Jamieson and Smith do is with the aim of enhancing the profile of Shetland wool. Jamieson and Smith's activity play an important part in sustaining Shetland's fragile crofting industry. Well, because they're buying off them, aren't they? It is literally from them, the crofters, the farmers. It's just phenomenal. So you know, actually for both, whichever one you buy, whether it's Jamieson's of Shetland or whether it's Jamieson's and Smith, that money is going to go back into the Shetland community, the crofters and the farmers. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. If you buy from Jamieson's and Smith, all their products carry the 3 sheep logo, which signals that the products are manufactured from 100% real Shetland wool, from purebred Shetland sheep that are born and bred on the islands. So it will be interesting to see how well it does at the shop. If you are a fan of aran weight yarn and 100% wool, then come in and give it a squish, because I think you'll be surprised that it's not as scratchy or as hard as you think wool to be, and Shetland wool to be. And I'm sure it will soften up once you give it a wash in some nice, what is it, soak, do they call it? Yes, or Ukilan, some nice wool wash. I have a shop customer, Val, who is knitting something up for me as we speak. She's doing it in navy blue. Good luck, Val. What's that like, doing that at night time? It's beautiful because you'll see pops of like sea green and light blue in it. I've seen a sneak peek already. Val came in to say, give me some feedback on how it was knitting up, and she's absolutely loving it. So I can't wait to show you that when it's finished, and maybe even wear it. So there we are, Jamieson's of Shetland, one of the 2 companies that makes and produces yarn in Shetland. Wonderfully woolly. Right, yes, it's that time, a bit of fun now. It's time for Guess the Year. Now, I have chosen this pattern this time, so I kind of know. This is going to be another make that Irene's going to do for me, and it's got an interesting story which I'll tell you in a short while. So, what year do you think it is? Cliff Richard, eh? Oh, do you know, I just really love a cricket jumper. And that's look at that cable. So what are you thinking? Are you going to go early this time? No, I can't give you any clues. I think we know which decade, don't we? Go on, shout it out. Good shout. Yes, I think you've probably got it right there. Oh dear. So let me tell you about this. I, on Instagram, follow an account called Men Yarn for Men, and they post pictures of men in great knits. And one of them I just fell in love with. Oh, you can't see. There we are. Well, isn't he a dish anyway? But that was me all over. That was just a jumper. And I was like, oh, Irene, I want a cricket jumper. And I could knit it myself, but you may not get to see it till 2023. And this was in Irene's stash, because I went to Irene and I said, oh, have a look through, see what you can find. And she dug out this pattern, and just wonderfully vintage, isn't it? And classic cricket jumper with the cable and a break, and a cable and a break, and then the two colours round the V. But I actually said to Irene, I said, oh, can I have it a bit smaller? The smaller V, Irene's going to adapt this pattern so that the V is a bit tighter, so almost there, like that. But I'm not going to have it in cricket jumpers. I'm going to have it in that green, because that green is just what they say, blue and green should never be seen unless a colour in between. Who cares about that? So that's why the jumper, the cricket jumper, is the Guess the Year pattern. Now, talking about creations, as always, you've been busy. Let's slow down the pace. Let's put our feet up a bit, put our knitting down so we can give full concentration and focus to your wonderful work in the gallery. If you are posting a picture of your finished object on Instagram, if you could just add our hashtag, the Woolpatch, to your list of hashtags, that could just add us to the bottom, that would be great, and I can find it. If not, as I say, you can email me to the address below, or you can DM me on Instagram, and I can add it to the next gallery. It would be lovely to see. Right, 3 months to go until this. Jubilee, Jubilee, Bunting mad. Yep, it's arrived at the shop. This is the bunting for the Jubilee. This is from Macau. There were 2 types available, classic red, white and blue, which I got, and there was a modern neon version, and I thought, oh no, we can't be doing that, that's too modern. We need classic red, white and blue. So yes, the Jubilee celebrations, where we get an extra day off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with loads of things going on, is in the first few days of June. So we're in March now, so that's 3 months to go. So we've got to get bunting making. This is how the bunting comes. It is a panel, just about half a metre, and you get 16 flags. There. Sell them singly like this. So if you buy 2, you'll get 2 separate lots. And I'm going to be doing a video very soon on how to make this into bunting. So that's arrived in the shop, and there are many events going on, but the Sunday is where I think most villages and the whole of the UK are going to be having like a lunch, roads closed, and having an outside street party, and that's what's happening here in Long Melford. And there's going to be a procession as well. I'm going to be working with people in the village to have an amazing quilt on show. We're going to have like 20 centimetres square of all things royal, whether it's going to have a 70 on it, whether it's going to have a corgi or Buckingham Palace, and everyone's going to be making that out of applique or knitting or quilt or journaling or whatever, and then we're going to sew them all together to try and make one big sort of masterpiece. But that's still in the plans at the moment. I need to get cracking with that. But obviously we need bunting. We need to have it across the street and across the shops and everywhere. Also need some in the shop. So that is one way. But I think everyone's going to be raiding their red, white and blue to make their own bunting too. I've also got to work on my display. Can you remember Barbara? Felted Barbara? Look at her. I still haven't mounted her up on the shop wall yet, but can you remember that I did? That was at the beginning of lockdown. Where's that time gone? So this was lots of stabbing of wool. And I thought, I could do something felting wise for the window. So I thought, right, well, it's got to be the Union flag, hasn't it? Big Union flag with 70 in the middle to celebrate 70 years on the throne. Such a marvellous woman. So I'm going to do it in wool, obviously, because that's felting. Look at these. Look at these felted balls. So I've got them in red. If I had this. Ooh. That literally went everywhere. Look at those. Oh. And then white. And that in my window should hopefully be a spectacular display. Are you doing anything for the Jubilee? If you're obviously in the UK or in the Commonwealth, let me know. What plans have you got? It would be really interesting to hear where you are and what you are planning to do, because it is a phenomenal event. 70 years of just complete devotion to her people. So I can't wait to get started on that. Right, yes, let's go back to Guess the Year and let's see what the year is. Back to our cricketer. Did you ever do cricket? I love cricket, though I was rubbish at it, even though I loved it. But I loved fielding. I loved trying to run to catch the ball. I was rubbish in bat. I was always out for a duck. I got a bit frightened of the ball because this fast bowler running towards me, pelting right down or doing some sort of bouncer. But put me out in the field, I'd be more than happy. Right, yes, the year. You locked in with it? You're not going to change, are you? No, you got it. Okay, here we go. The year is 1978. Brilliant, hey, fabulous. And I can't wait to show it to you when Irene's knitted it, which, knowing her, will be very, very quick. Oh, wow. There we are. Look at that. That's a show gone by again. Another one. Oh, actually, before we finish, let me show you this stunning yarn. It was gifted to me by the fabulous Fizz. You often see her work in the gallery. Did you see her improvised quilt? Yes, it's finished. That was one of the you know what we were talking about at the beginning of the year about setting your fabric free, going into that stash and just opening up a layer cake or a jelly roll and doing something with it because life's too short. Well, she's done that already, and that was a layer cake, and doesn't it look fabulous? And I think Fizz said she had it in her stash for many years. So well done, Fizz, for setting that fabric free. I digress, but as she was clearing out her stash, she was giving some away to people to make blankets with, or giving it away to people to make hats with. I had a surprise parcel in the post. I thought, what's this big box? I can't remember ordering any yarn for the shop. Opened it up, and what do I see? This beautiful box of woolly goodness. All the way from West Coast America. I said, oh my God, Fizz, this is amazing. And she said, well, I'm clearing out my stash. It's good to give it to people to use. There's no point it sitting there for another 2 years. It's like, what am I going to make? What am I going to make? Well, Fizz is doing a charity knit where she's making lots of super chunky beanie hats for people with cancer or leukemia in her part of the world. So I will knit up some hats as well for people with cancer and leukemia here. I've already given Irene some wool, thanks Fizz, because you know she'll have those hats knitted up in no time. What's the figure you're up to? I think Fizz has set a challenge to knit 1,000 this year, so she can at the end of the year give 1,000 hats to her cancer department. I think it's your cancer department, did you say, Fizz, that you were talking about? She's going to take in 1,000 hats, and if you follow her on Instagram, each month she gives an update on how many she's made. It's phenomenal. So I'm going to be using some of the wool for that, but also I'm going to be doing, remember the Harry Styles cardigan? We can do better than that. Let's have the Stuart Ray's Woolpatch cardigan in these fabulous colours. Because I'm going to have plenty, because these are 200 gram balls. They are whopping. Fabulous. So I'm going to have fun. It's another project to do over the coming months, and I've cast on already. Here we go. And I know some of you saying, Stuart, why are you knitting? You started a crochet one. Well, no, I did start it, but it's been chucked across the room. I had in the last episode, I was asking for assistance on how to stop the second colour showing through tapestry crochet. And basically, I'm too loose a crocheter. When you pull up your loop and you've trapped the yarn in there with the hands, you trap the second yarn in there and then you pull up a loop, you've got to literally just pull up the loop. Literally as if you're just coming back through that hole you pushed through. And over the years, I've just trained myself to pull up a loop and to tug up. So you get a nice hole there to be able to yarn over, go through, yarn over, go through. And I can't train myself out of that. So boom, the crochet's gone. I'm not making that garment anymore. So I'm now going to do the Stuart Race Woolpatch cardigan. Doesn't really roll off the tongue like the Harry Styles cardigan, does it? But there we are. Wonderful. Half an hour. Boom. Gone. Finished. Hope you enjoyed it. I've loved chatting to you. And I'll see you on the next one.